Okay, that's a new part now. um, I'm ecstatic about this one because and I think it shows that Android's finally reaching a maturity in the eyes of the commercial mobile market. It's like they've realized we don't want to put all our eggs on Apple, especially with the direction iOS is going. But Kindle is now officially on Android. You don't have to use the workaround apps. So you could make Android books, Kindle books work on Android. It wasn't an officially supported feature. Now it's an officially supported feature. That's the one good thing about an open OS is if there's a need, there's a will. And the other development, not for Android but for iOS, is Hulu Paid. Joins the mobile arena as well as potentially TV set-top boxes and other stuff. Y'all have anything to say on the Kindle before we get into Hulu? I'll take that silence as a no unless Leo has something to say.
Just kind of wondering if it's a sign that Android will very soon be competing with the iPad, because that seems to kind of be one of the iPad's directions.
There's a whole array of slate Android devices, some really good ones, some of which where they have taken and retweaked everything specifically for their form factor, that are designed deliberately to compete with the iPad, coming out soon. And there's rumors that some of the ones coming out next year are going to be making use of the dual-core CPUs. So it's... yeah. But yeah. Anything else? Or down into Hulu land?
Guess Hulu land.
Okay. I guess before we get into the whole Hulu's great. I love Hulu, but I sometimes look at the things Hulu does and go, you can tell old media is making the decisions here. I'm just not to bash Hulu and not to say it isn't a great thing, but in the way Hulu gets artificially boxed. I mean, you cannot go to the Hulu webpage on a mobile device. They won't let you. So you have to use the app. I know, and some of that's licensing. Some of that's not so much fun, but, given the people who are in charge at Hulu, if they really wanted to fix that problem, they could. They don't really want to. So, go ahead. Okay. Leo, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
I'm not talking.
Okay. What about the price? $10. I know it's cheaper than my cable TV, but it just seems like a little much.
Well, here's the thing. If companies have been trying to do this for a long time. I think Apple, Google is now, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other companies have tried to transition so that your TV is now just your internet. And if that happens, where, everything you get from the internet is, streamed to you, and it's just shown on your TV, then I think that this would be a pretty good deal. It could be a lot cheaper, but that all depends if there's really enough companies making TVs that are able to do that.
Well, and see, the reason, it's like people have been trying to make the box that does that for years, and the monkey wrench in the works has always been traditional media. It's a little known fact, for those of you who don't know, the hardware to make your PC, your cable or satellite box, has existed for a decade. Due to federal regulation, the company that makes it is not allowed to sell it to you, the end user. They are only allowed to sell the descrambler cards, which are basically a PCI or PCI Express equivalent of a cable or DirecTV black box, to a satellite or cable company. It's a felony to sell it to the end user. And the European Union also enforces that rule. So we're not going to have DVRs we're in charge of until the cable company and the satellite companies realize that they want to give it to us, which they don't, because they make so much more money charging a monthly fee for their DVR box, and and so and yes, you can go the long way around and go the little IR blaster and everything else, but yeah, and this is the same hurdle Apple TV has. It's the same hurdle the Google TV box is going to have, and old media that's on board with things like Hulu has brought this mentality of absolute control over where it goes out, rather than realizing that eyeballs are what's important, especially if you're on an ad-based system, rather than absolute control of the portal. Odds are Hulu is not going to be on the Android TV top boxes. In the same way, it was on Boxy for a little bit, and then Hulu said, "What do you mean people on Boxy are watching Hulu with our ads still in them? They can't do that. No, Boxy, take Hulu off. Don't generate us revenue." Because it's like, what do you mean they're not going to Hulu? Well, they are. They're just going to Hulu through their Boxy box. I see this as the new jailbreaking war. It's a cat and mouse war, and I don't think it serves anyone for them to spend millions of dollars a year trying to figure out how to outsmart hackers who are going to do it no matter what the hell they do. And honestly, I think the condition should be you don't strip the metrics and you don't strip the ads. Because as long as it's linking through their servers, it still gets counted in their metrics. It still gets counted as views. The ads are there. They're still getting money for me going to it through a means they didn't have to pay any money or development to access. I'm confused why that's a bad thing for them.
I can't think of any reason how Boxy is different than a browser.
Well, it's like there's an obvious argument for the iPad app, in that they have to format the videos a specific way to be optimized for iPad and iPhones.
Well, yeah.
I understand why there's a fee for that. But if I'm on an Android device and I'm using Flash and I'm just going to their regular website, or I'm going to an app, or I'm using an app that's going through the regular website, or I'm on a set-top box that's going to their website, or so on and so forth, they haven't had to do any extra work. It's the same. I just don't get it. Or am I a madman here? I mean, Leo, James, you haven't really said anything on this yet.
It's I don't really have a comment.
Okay. Okay. I didn't think there's anything else to say on that, so I guess we'll just move on. Okay.